From an evolution of consciousness standpoint, the first multi-celled entities came into existence when various single-celled entities perceived one another as the object of need and, by doing so, created a relationship. Over time, the creative process gave rise to more complex relationships that joined with other relationships to create entities with multiple levels of structure and function. This is Session 9, Line of Consciousness, in a course titled Evolution of Consciousness, and that is central to a larger view, Evolution of Consciousness Theory. In this session, we explore the refinement of life's design as an ascent of consciousness, life's line of consciousness. Our journey along life's line of consciousness begins during a span of time paleontologists call the Paleozoic era. The sequence in which new species evolved during the Paleozoic is well dated and well documented by fossil evidence and scientific scrutiny. At the beginning of the Paleozoic era, which began about 540 million years ago and lasted to about 250 million years ago, the surface of the planet consisted of a vast ocean, from which rose various landmasses. Most of these landmasses, or protocontinents, were situated in the tropics and southern hemisphere. Life was confined to the seas, which teemed with worms, sponges, mollusks, and other invertebrate organisms, as well as with various types of algae and seaweed. The most noted of these early life forms was an arthropod called the trilobite that was particularly widespread. By about 500 million years ago, the protocontinents that would one day form Europe and North America had come together to create a vast continental area, much of which was submerged beneath a shallow sea. In this and other aquatic regions, corals and clams flourished, as did primitive armored fish. By 450 million years ago, plants had colonized land, followed, 50 million years later, by animals. At the same time, rays, sharks, and other cartilaginous fish roamed the oceans. By 370 million years ago, flying insects had emerged, and forests of ferns covered much of the land. By about 250 million years ago, the Earth's landmasses had come together to form a single supercontinent, Pangaea. Not long after, trilobites, many fishes, and a large number of other species died out in what paleontologists consider the greatest mass extinction of all time, the Paleozoic extinction. Subsequent to this event, biosphere complexity at times increased, and there were a number of mass extinctions, but paleontologists believe that the biosphere never reached its former level of intricacy. Marked by the Paleozoic extinction, the biosphere fell into the realm of evolution's trailing arrow. Evolution's leading arrow, locked in the evolution of the organism. The evolution of the organism was expressed in abundance during the Mesozoic era, the age of the reptile, 250 to 65 million years ago. During this period, Pangaea split into two continents, the southern called Gondwanaland, the northern called Laurasia. Gondwanaland then split into what would become India, Africa, Australia, Antarctica, and South America. And Laurasia split into what would become Asia, Europe, and North America. Biologically, the Mesozoic saw the rise of many new life forms, but none that has captured our attention more than the dinosaur. The earliest dinosaurs were comparatively small creatures that rarely exceeded 4.5 meters, or 15 feet, in length. They ran on their hind feet and balanced their bodies against the weight of enormous tails. By 195 million years ago, the various species we know best had emerged. These included the armor-plated Stegosaurus, the rhino-like Triceratops, the massive two-footed carnivore Tyrannosaurus rex, and the heavy four-footed vegetarian, Apatosaurus. The marine reptile Plesiosaurus had also evolved, as had Pterodactylus, the great flying reptile with a wingspan of up to 11 meters, or 36 feet. The dinosaur may define the Mesozoic era, but the age also saw the rise of many other species. These included birds, now typically classified as dinosaur, and modern varieties of such common plants as oak, maple, holly, beech, poplar, laurel, walnut, and magnolia. The period also saw the emergence of an animal class that represented the next step in the advance of life's design, the mammal. Before we discuss the line of evolutionary advance, begun with the mammal, we need to focus on the organism itself. The earliest multicellular entities were little more than tightly bound clusters of cells. As more complex life forms emerged, fundamental changes in anatomy and function came into being. The most visible of these changes was a circulatory system. As life form complexity increased, a system became necessary to transport nutrients into the organism and to carry waste products out of the organism. These systems ranged from the vascular networks found in plants like kelp to the highly specialized digestive and cardiovascular systems found in fish, reptiles, and mammals. Multicellular evolution also embodied a nervous system. In the nervous system, certain elements are devoted to reception of stimuli, others to processing stimuli, and still others to controlling any action invoked by such processing. This translates into a system made up of a brain, sensory organs, and the network of nerves, through which the brain connects with various parts of the organism's body. As well, multicellular evolution saw the development of a reproductive system. In multicellular reproduction, the cell not only has the responsibility to duplicate its own structure, but to do so in a way that contributes to the reproduction of the entire organism. The great variety of reproductive systems seen in the organism represent different ways to accomplish this objective. The multicelled lifeform consists of a top level of consciousness and creative activity that enwraps, and thus regulates, successively lower levels of consciousness and creative activity. If the organism were a modern crocodile, its top level of consciousness and creative activity would be the level we associate with the organism itself, the level that recognizes the gazelle that stopped to drink at the crocodile's pool. This level of consciousness and creative activity embraces the level we associate with the crocodile's various internal systems, which embraces the level we associate with its subsystems, down to the level of the organ and the cell. The multicelled lifeform is made up of systems of consciousness and creative activity, nestled within systems of consciousness and creative activity. One characteristic more than any other defines consciousness on the level of higher life: the organism's ability to think and learn. To introduce thought and learning on the level of the pre-human organism, the level referred to as abstract thought and learning, recall our crocodile. In the crocodile's world, the animal must interact with other crocodiles, and with the various creatures that share its pool or stop to drink. To achieve this interaction, our crocodile must compare the actual world, the world of its senses, to an internal representation of that world. In part, the consciousness that is our crocodile consists of a mental or abstract model of the animal's environment, manifest in nervous system structure of perception. By comparing the sensory with the abstract, the crocodile experiences a familiarity with its surroundings. Its consciousness envelops its world. The crocodile recognizes the gazelle that stopped at its pool to drink for what it is, a potential meal. How, then, does this comparison between the sensory and the abstract take place? More accurately, how does the creative activity associated with this comparison take place? Here we find the dynamic patterns of thought and learning we associate with the living organism, as opposed to the static comparison and reaction mechanisms we associate with a computer or cybernetic system. Motivated by the need to internalize its surroundings, the organism's top level of consciousness folds in on itself. The animal perceives itself as the object of its need. As it does, the animal's sensory and abstract representations align through simple atomic and molecular recognition. With each creative cycle, the alignment of the sensory with the abstract establishes and refines patterns of nervous system structure of perception. With each threshold, uncertainty collapses to lift the animal beyond simple recognition to a higher level of awareness, to the fulfillment of its need, to a state of comprehension. Abstract learning is a growth of consciousness, manifest in the refinement of an organism's internal model of the world. Abstract thought is the creative process that brings about that growth and refinement. When it comes to the higher, non-human organism, abstract thought and learning are how the creative process functions on the top level of organism consciousness. As organism consciousness evolved, life became more lifelike. Personality became more distinct. The states of uncertainty, we call emotions, matured. A mechanism to facilitate creative building on and discarding of the old, within the organism, developed. We call this mechanism sleep and dream. As organism consciousness and autonomy increased, the organism formed stronger social bonds. From the uniform social orders associated with the beehive and ant colony, to the intricate social orders associated with the flock and herd, social structure became less collective. At the end of the Mesozoic, 65 million years ago, a threshold was crossed, and a mass extinction swept the planet. Among the animals to vanish was the dinosaur. The age of the mammal had begun, and among the mammalian orders to emerge was the primate. Life's line of consciousness had founded the branch that would one day lead to ourselves. Was not the evolution of the Earth and its biosphere a manifestation of the evolution of consciousness that was the universe? Was not life the mental expression of creation? With our look at life's line of consciousness, we complete session 9 in our course titled Evolution of Consciousness. We have established the background to explore the apex branch to which life's line of consciousness ascended, the human line. Our course titled Evolution of Consciousness continues in session 10, Reflection.